Hey, welcome to the Push Pull Sales and Marketing Podcast. I'm Marcello.
And I'm Sherry, and each week we'll provide you with sales and marketing strategies that you can implement immediately into your own business. Today we're going to be talking about
the science of persuasion and 6 shortcuts to decision making. This information you can find from Dr. Robert Cialdini, Cialdini. We'll have the information in the show notes as well as a link to a really, really cool YouTube video that actually runs through and it kind of explains everything. It's really cool, but we'll just talk about them briefly and how you can use them and some applications and all that good stuff. So the book from Dr. Robert Cialdini is called Influence, The Science of Persuasion, and basically, he had already done a lot of the legwork. He'd pulled some data and given a lot of interesting case studies in the actual shortcuts to decision making. I mean, you would think most people, what they do is they weigh all the pros and cons, and and they kind of do the old Ben Franklin. Okay, well, 20 pros, 10 cons. These weigh more. Let's go with this. But with all the information we have, the brain actually looks for shortcuts to go ahead and make decisions. So these are actually 6 universals that applies pretty much to everybody. So we'll go ahead and talk about it. The first one is reciprocity, and that's pretty much just being consistent. And if someone gives you something, people like to reciprocate back. So if I give you a small treat, you're more likely to spend more money. So something like silly, like I think they did an example.
Small treat like a lollipop?
Like a mint, for example. If you look at the numbers, for example, they did this with tips for waiters and waitresses and stuff like that. So I don't know the exact numbers.
Is that why they give mints with the check?
Yes, exactly. And the best method for doing it is you throw in a little element of surprise. Like they actually did the numbers. I forget if it doubled, but it was fairly substantial. From 1 mint to 2 mints, the percentage of tip went way up. But if you're a server and working your way into sales, something like that, you have an extra job, the way to get the most money from a tip, what you do is you leave the element of surprise. So first you drop off 1 mint, for the people. You walk away and you come back and you say, you know what? For you nice people, let me get you guys an extra mint. And it goes up like another 13%. Again, you'll have to watch the video for the exact numbers, but something silly like that. And people are like, no, that doesn't make sense. People aren't going to tip more because someone gave a mint.
That sounds crazy.
Yeah, well, think about that too. I mean, because element of surprise, it makes the person feel special, but people like to reciprocate back. There are other studies too where they had done something small. So, for example, if I met you I think it was where they met someone for the first time and they offered the person a Coke, right? And this is,
I think you talked about
what was the Coke, like 50 cents or something like that. And then they said, hey, would you be willing to buy like this for like $10? So the return on investment is huge. So small gifts, stuff like that, people definitely that they actually like to reciprocate back. Again, the video will have a lot of examples in the book. It's wonderful. If you have a service called, and I highly recommend as well, called Blinkist, what it is, it summarizes a book or anything like that, like longer books in 15 minutes. So you get everything, you get all the meat out of it. It's kind of like our podcast, actually. It gets straight to the point and not a whole lot of BS. So think about some ways you might use that in your business. It could be something small. Like a referral program or something like that. Every time someone sends a customer your way, you send to them a gift card or something like that, and they like to reciprocate back. Or if you drop off just something small too, like I've noticed sometimes the amount of business I get from a customer and how quickly I do just could be something small. I spend $5, $6 on a couple donuts, and then you would think it doesn't make a difference. I'm not going to be swayed by that, but it does.
Right, you don't have to bring in or take them out to a fancy dinner necessarily. Smaller gestures can work too.
And it's just like Christmas and stuff like that. That's really the thought that counts. If you can make it tied to them and make it unique, it'll work. I know a lot of people, what they do is they actually, or not a lot of people, but some high-level salespeople, they'll actually give books if they're meeting with the CEO or president or something like that, and say, hey, I was thinking about you, and I picked this up, and I think this is really helpful. It helped me, and I got you a copy of it. Just want to get that. So think about that. Anyone could drop off donuts. Doesn't take that much. A book that's actually relevant to them. It doesn't happen all the time. So reciprocity, people just like to give back and basically reciprocate. It's just how people are. The next one we're going to talk about is scarcity. And again, this is one that it's pretty much used all the time. It's kind of being spearheaded a lot by a lot of these tech companies right now. So, for example, by invitation only, right. First 1,000 people get signed up. I remember
it works.
Remember when Gmail came out, and like not everyone could have a Gmail. If you had a Gmail account, that was amazing. Oh my god, you have a Gmail account? That's.
I don't remember that. I didn't.
Well,
I wasn't on board early enough to know that it was
on
exclusive.
Board. Yeah, people are like, oh my god, I got a Gmail account because it was scarce. It wasn't by invitation only, or even like for there's like a modern toy type. Basically, it's like electronics and stuff like that, and by invitation only, and you have to wait till you're out after the waiting list.
Well, and some of the like Indiegogo stuff or Kickstarter works on that. Like they have a certain amount of things at a certain price, and stuff gets sold out.
Yeah, and the one example in the and you think no, it doesn't have anything to do with that. The one example they gave, I believe it was a flight, a certain type of flight that maybe it was UK or something like that. Again, you can actually watch the thing for the actual specifics. But long story short, is it wasn't very popular, so they canceled it, and it was no longer available. They're like, all right, we're going to phase out this thing. And it tripled. It went through the roof. All these bookings for this flight that wasn't popular because it was gonna go away. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like.
So how can somebody apply that to their own products or businesses?
You'd use similar manipulations. You would make things scarce. So again, say, hey, I only deal with clients through referral only. You'd have to talk to an existing customer and talk to them that way. There are a couple things you can do kind of to the extreme. Yeah. But basically you need to make yourself a sort of a hot commodity. So you say, well, I don't really work with everybody. Actually, I only work with these specific people. So then you're also tying in the target market, and you're going to be stronger that way. So say, well, look, I only take on about 15 clients a year. So I need to make sure it makes sense for you, but it also has to make sense for me as well. So,
right.
Whoa, why do you only take 15 a year? Am I not good enough and stuff like that? And it's right. Basically what you're doing is you're playing the business version of hard to get. Yeah. You don't want to be too inconvenient for someone to work with, but you do want to make it sort of like a hot commodity. What else?
Because people think, if people think that they're going to value your time a little bit more that way. They're going to realize that you have plenty of other clients, you have plenty to do, mm-hmm. and they're seeing it from your perspective a little bit, and you're sharing that you have a say in it as well. You're not so desperate to just take anybody that'll buy from you. You want to work with people that you enjoy working with, mm-hmm. and you can do that even if you are desperate for clients.
Yeah,
you can still be picky.
And one of the rules, too, we talked about this in a couple other podcasts, the second you sound desperate and that you really need it, you're not going to get the client anyway.
Right.
It never, ever works out. So if you're banking on that one thing to finally hit you over the quote or something like that, and that's the only thing in your pipeline, it's not going to happen. That's just kind of how the universe works. But if you can manipulate inventory or anything like that and kind of branch that, that's why Apple, as an example, when the iPhone and stuff like that come out, people are like, oh no, I won't be able to get it right away. I'll have to wait months and stuff like that. Even though the company should be fairly good now at forecasting demand, and they can have the product there.
Right.
And you can kind of artificially inflate it. There are only 6 available per store, only available here. There's a couple different manipulations you can do.
Or Super Mario Maker.
Super Mario Maker, that was the only one in the store. Well, even when we got the Wii U, I was like, well, around the Christmas time, I don't want to be in a situation where I can't get it.
Right.
Other times in the past it sold out, and it wasn't the case, but it was enough for me to go ahead and make a more immediate decision and get something now than wait to try to get a better price.
Pay a little bit more.
Yeah, actually, I think we got In the price might drop like 6 months later. It was still a pretty good deal. The next item is authority, and basically what people look for in authority is they just want some sort of shortcut that says, hey, this person actually knows what he's talking about. So, for example, when you go to their example they give, when you go to the doctor's office and you see his diploma, or if you go to a lawyer and his diploma's out there, hanging there, magna cum laude, blah, blah, blah. He doesn't put that out there because he's proud of it. He puts it out there because you're more likely to take his advice and take him seriously because you see the diploma and you think authority. Mm-hmm. Same thing with someone in a uniform. You're more likely to take them seriously. Or even you can give the perception of authority basically by basically puffing up someone's credentials. So the example they gave, and this works even if the person has something to benefit directly from that person's from that person's referral or from that person's perceived authority. So, for example, if me and Sherry are working for the same company, and someone calls up and says, "Hey, I want to talk to someone about getting a new copier for my business here. I have about 5,000 employees, and I need to make about 10,000 sheets. I'm looking for this." And so, oh, you know what? You should talk to Joe. Joe has over 20 years of experience in this, and he actually is an expert at copiers for companies your size. So even though
he could be a peer within the company.
Exactly. So in my example, for my company, if someone has an international question or something like that, or a customs clearance question, let me get you over to Andrew. Actually, he's a licensed customs agent, mm-hmm. So he's an expert in customs clearance, and he actually used to work directly for the ocean lines. Versus, Andrew can answer that question for you. They're more likely to take that seriously and take that information.
What about if you could answer the question? Are there still times where you might refer to someone else just to?
You can do that, if the other person has authority, or you can create authority for yourself very quickly.
Okay.
So, for example, if someone calls, this is the first time someone's actually calling your company, this is an inbound call, and says, "Hey, I'm looking for help. Looking for help with this." You can just say the simple phrase, "Did somebody tell you to ask for me?" And then, boom! It's like, "Oh wow, no, why?" No, don't worry about it. I just was curious. I got a lot of people, calling, and they specifically asked for me. Just wanted to see. And right then, like, ooh, okay, I'm talking to someone who knows what they're talking about. You could pretty much say that for any new customer. Did somebody tell you to ask for me?
Because you're talking to the right person.
You got the right person, right? Thing like that. It's more effective if it comes from someone else.
Yeah.
But there are some things you can do to kind of inflate your own self. So. That's just something to consider. The next one we can do is consistency, and in a nutshell, consistency is pretty much nod momentum. It's getting all those small yeses and stuff like that. So we talked before about the example of people that used to sell cable door to door. They had a list of all questions where they would get yeses because people want to be consistent in their actions. It's also part of the Socratic method. When you ask questions, you want to get people to make small agreements that eventually lead to a bigger conclusion. So one example they gave in the video, and it's just something small. So if I came up to my neighbors here and I asked them to put up a sign in their yard and say, "Hey, would you be willing to put up a yard sign about against domestic violence or something like that?" It'd be like 4 feet by 6 feet. Most people would say no. Mm-hmm. Now, if I ask those same people, okay, hey, would you be willing to put a little thing in your window about against domestic violence, like a small thing, a little window decal? Most people would say yes.
Right.
Now, if I asked those same people that said yes to the window decal about the yard sign, they would be more likely to go ahead and put up the yard sign because they already gave a small yes.
Now, what if you gave them a mint and then asked them to put up the yard sign?
You're combining things. Yeah, you're definitely on the right track. So if you would do that too, so you say, "Hey, can you do this? And I'll give you, what I'll do is I can give you a discount at this store here at this restaurant." And sometimes they'll have those
right.
arrangements. So you'll kind of see that, hey, donate to this organization and you'll get a discount at these 5 places or something like that. So actually just... it was just at the grocery store, something like that. They're like, oh, do you want to donate money to like a hunger thing or something like that? And then it was, they gave me a $5 coupon for dog food or something like that. I didn't know I was going to get that, but I was like, oh, okay, that's, it's pretty nice that someone's able to do that. Some other examples I gave is there's like a Big Brothers Big Sisters organization and stuff like that. And they asked the people if they'd be willing to do like a whole year with a kid and commit to that. And most people said no. I said, all right, well, that's understandable. Can you do one weekend, commit to the summer? And the people that did one weekend were more likely to then go ahead and to make the full year commitment afterward, because if you make a small commitment, you can make a bigger one.
So when you say consistency, and like you said, you kind of mean more non-momentum, you're talking about gradually building that trust and building up what you're asking of people and what you want from them. Rather than jumping from, hi, nice to meet you, to buy my stuff.
Yeah, and there is a counterintuitive one that says ask for everything and then get something small. Right. This one is saying ask for small things and get to be bigger.
It probably depends what your audience is and what you're selling.
Yeah, and how confident your or how strong your actual proposal is, or your ROI, but. For my business, for example, there's a couple different ways we can help our customers, maybe domestic first and then international, or maybe we do the inbound shipments first, then we do the outbound later, or we offer this service and another one, and you kind of get that whole, okay, we did this for you, and you say we did a fairly good job for that, right? Right. Okay, great. How about we go ahead and do this? Well, I'm not sure if I really want to make that change or anything like that. Well, again, we're doing this for you. Why wouldn't we do that for you too? Doesn't it make sense? And you trust me for this, right? Why don't you trust me for that? It's like, you know what? You're right. Or you wouldn't, even a husband and wife talking and stuff like that. Like if I can handle, the kids and doing this project and stuff like that, I'm pretty sure I can drive your new car without having it get scratched or something small like that. You would list an example. Okay. But yeah, if you want to segue into your next part.
Sure. So we have 2 more tips to go over here, 2 more of the shortcuts to decision making. But if you like what you're hearing so far, please subscribe and rate us on iTunes. This helps us out a lot. It helps new people find our podcast. And you can email us with any feedback or suggestions at pushpullsales@gmail.com, or tweet us at pushpullsales. If you have any suggestions for future topics or questions about what we cover, it's an easy way to get a hold of us. And like Marcello mentioned at the top of the show, we will link to the books that he's talking about, to the YouTube video that he's talking about, and whatever else we mention. We always have those in the show notes on our website, which is pushpullsales.com. If you're listening to this later, you can always go back and search for the title Shortcuts to Decision Making, and that'll pull that right up for you.
Yeah.
So
one thing,
sure,
too, with backtracking to authority, the video, the guy has a slight accent. Accent makes a person sound smarter. So therefore he has more of a perceived authority.
Will he have like a British accent?
Yes.
Now, does Southern accent, does that have the same effect?
I don't know. It really,
what about like New Jersey, Brooklyn?
Nah.
Like what about like a really heavy, thick Brooklyn accent?
If you want to convince somebody that something's really cheap, maybe it all depends.
No.
But like Southern could be a lot of different things. Like something Southern, it's very, very persuasive. It just sounds nice and it's very
relatable, and you might make buddies with people a little bit quicker with a twang.
Right, and that's actually the next one that we're going to talk about is liking. Everyone does business with people who they know, people who they like, people who they trust. People trust people more if there's authority, if there's consistency. I already know them, I already done this, so you can kind of combine some of the things. But liking, there actually are just some scientific ways to make you more likable. One of them is not discussed in the book, or maybe it is, but very briefly, or in the video, is attractive, and probably because not everyone can actually make themselves more attractive, or everyone might have a higher image of themselves and think that everyone is attractive. But if you go by the law of averages, there has to be some unattractive people. I hate to say it. So we're going to focus on what you can change.
Plastic surgery does miracles.
Sure. So people first off,
we're not advocating for this, by the way.
For plastic surgery? No.
Yeah, and
if you're selling plastic
bad
surgery,
about yourself.
maybe. No, everyone should have a good image or something like that. But not everyone is going to find you attractive. So you can't. It's not like in the episode. Actually, it kind of is.
Like me and my sister have very different viewpoints on what we find attractive in men.
Very
it's pretty
much
comical.
So. Very much so. You like the male model type, and she likes something different. That's okay. So people like people who are similar to them. So that's why they talk about when you're in the office first, see if there's anything similar that you can bring up or stuff like that. You don't want to make it too obvious, but if there are some similarities, people are more likely to go ahead and do that. So that's why when you're doing your pre-call planning, again, we did a podcast on cold calling and planning is important. If you can see like, hey, we were both wrestlers and stuff like that. Actually, someone just cold called me for a service, and the email said, hey, I have a service for other wrestlers and blah blah blah. He could sell it to pretty much any company in sales that does any sort of research. But he said for wrestlers, and that was enough of an actual connection. Or if I were to go overseas right now and I were to bump into someone from the United States too, I would be more inclined to like that person than someone else because you have similarities.
Yeah. And that goes into the scarcity stuff a little bit, is if you're looking for people in your target audience, if you're limiting to your ideal customer, the likelihood of you having a lot more relatability factors is higher.
Absolutely. And
we do go into some of this as well. If you want to go back to episode 5 about selling yourself, not in that way.
Oldest profession, selling.
We go through some of that stuff too about the likability factor. But if you want to run through another, a little bit of a synopsis.
Yeah.
So people like people who are similar to them, and
people like people who pay them compliments. So if you, for example, the example I gave in the video is that they had two colleges do some sort of negotiations, and one group was told, no small talk, just cut straight to the chase and go right to business, and the other group was told, take some time to get to know each other, blah blah blah,
and get them talking about themselves.
And get them talking right. The group that actually got to know each other and found some common ground first, they actually came up with better deals and better proposals that work best for both groups, and that the size of the deals and the actual value for each person was much worse in the other one where they didn't spend time. So that's part of the warm up. So you get to know the customer.
And whether or not you're actually good at it, it seems like each person likes to think that they're good at reading people. We always think that we're pretty good at assessing people and what they're all about. And some people are really, really good at it. Some people might not be as good. But establishing those relationships and talking back and forth a little bit in the beginning, I could see gives a sense of security. Whether it's accurate or not isn't as important as it being there.
Can you repeat that?
Okay, so they're talking, before this thing, the example you just gave.
Okay. Some people think that
a group of
people
are
better.
talking. I'm just saying, a group of people are talking, and that conversation, if I talk to somebody for 5 minutes, I'm like, I think I have a good idea of who they are. Mm-hmm. I might not have a good idea of who they are. I might have a false sense of security with this person who's really good at scamming me, or I'm really bad at reading people.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still building that.
Yeah, it's
trust.
It's building that. It's building that trust. Yeah, that's good. I kind of see what you're saying. Now, part of it too, you need to be genuine. So if you can do some research and find out stuff that actually isn't common.
I'm not saying that to scam people.
But I'm saying if you're being scammed, you don't want to be the actual scammer. So someone says, "Oh, are you a mommy blogger?" Oh my gosh, I'm a mommy blogger too. I started. Oh really? What's wrong? I haven't published it yet or something like that.
Right.
I love golf, and then you kind of wind up a couple months later. Hey, I have this golf thing, whatever charity. Would you be willing to come and stuff like that? You don't want to do that.
Right.
But yeah, you do want to find things similar, find common ground. Second thing you want to do is compliment. It's all part of likability. People like people who pay them compliments, and that's pretty much goes without saying. So, power phrases I can use and be like, you know what, you and I actually we're definitely very similar. You're a very, very analytical person, and you make very, very smart decisions for your business. I mean, I can just tell you that you like hearing that. So you and I we're fair. We're both from Pennsylvania. And you know what? I've looked at some of your work too, and how your company's been. Your business is doing wonderful, by the way. I can help it out in this aspect, or say, man, and that's why you lose the actual golf outing or stuff like that, or proper etiquette. And you say, man, you're really good at this. People like people who pay them compliments. And again, try to make it a genuine compliment. Last one, people like people. And again, this seems like fairly common sense, who are easy to work with, people who cooperate with them. So if this is a situation where someone is going to leave this situation unhappy, and it's always got to be the other person, and you always have to be the winning side, it's not going to work. You need someone that has some back and forth, or someone that's going to be easy to work with, someone that's easy to cooperate with.
But how much of it needs to be on your end to get that customer in the first place? Like, how much flexibility do you need to have within either like payment structures or pricing or packages that you're offering? Just too much of a case-by-case basis.
Yeah.
So you're saying that you're looking for a client that's willing to cooperate?
No, you want to be more cooperative with them, so just easy to work with. So, for example...
And I think that could apply to just doing things in a timely manner, too. If they request a quote, you're cooperative in the sense that you get that back to them quickly in the way that they asked for it.
Exactly, or you don't make them jump through hoops to get a quote or stuff like that, or someone says, well, hey, can I... so for example, for Michael, hey, can I ship this today? Blah blah blah. I won't be able to fill this out. So you make it easier for the person to work with and say, okay, hey, I'll go ahead. What I'll do for you here is I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna push this through, but I need this paperwork. I need a credit application by tomorrow, or I need payment. Within 15 days. And that's something else too. We can do another podcast on actual negotiations, and everything you do in terms of negotiations. We can kind of discuss more, but you really want to uncover more creative options and really look at the whole package. Where a lot of negotiations go sour is when people go line item by line item by line item, and they have certain things where maybe I gave up too much on A and item D was actually more important, but I wanted to win in that situation. So some of the best negotiations you can do is where you basically say, look, we're not going to agree on anything until everything is agreed upon, and some of the same basic principles in terms of liking actually count.
Right.
So for liking, people who are similar to them, find common ground. You went to the same school, you're in the same club, same interest, you both like The Walking Dead, whatever it is, compliment, all that good stuff. Lastly is consensus, and that's similar to authority. People, they basically like to make decisions based on the authority of other people. So if there's a consensus that everything makes sense. So for example, when you go to McDonald's, and it says 100 million trillion whatever burgers served. I'm not sure how much it is now. Basically, it's telling you it's not great, but it's safe. This many other people did it. So if a bunch of people did something, they're more likely to go ahead and do that. So you can create consensus with your product by bringing up existing customers, and this combines some other things. Testimonial stuff like that, references or number of customers or stuff like that. You don't want to be too obvious with it, because then you run into the situations where, hi, I'm Jim Jones. I'm the largest supplier. Largest doesn't really mean anything to them. Or we're the biggest, or we have over 10,000 customers. You want to do it so it's not smarmy or not. What would be a proper condescending or
Yeah.
I
It
don't.
has to be meaningful too. We've talked about that a lot. That you can't just spit out things that don't actually build value or have any frame of reference for your customer.
Yeah. So again, and some of these can be combined too in terms of target market or anything like that. And you say, hey, I've worked with 20 other companies actually just in this area who were like you and they were a similar pattern. Yeah. And I mean, you could talk to any one of them and they'll tell you exactly how we operate.
Yeah. So we have reciprocity, scarcity, authority, consistency, liking, and consensus.
Yeah. The only other thing with consensus, and then I'll cut it short. If you can make it more specific, it'll work. So the example they gave, it was a hotel. They wanted people to go ahead and reuse their towel. So the first group, if you put, can you please reuse your towel, blah, 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 it's for the environment. Maybe like 10%. Again, I don't know the exact numbers. The more effective way is say, 60% of people reuse their towels. So then now you have a general consensus, or the majority of people in here. And then if you can make it more specific, 60% of the people who stay in this room reuse their towel. It goes up even higher. So
it's strange.
Well,
we're strange. Humans are strange.
It's how people are hardwired. So again, if you make things specific. So you say, well, 90% of the customers I talk to, end up going with me or something like that. You say, well, 90% of the customers in Pennsylvania end up going with me. If you can make something more specific, or 90% of the customers who see this package go with this one. This is my most popular package. End up going with it.
Yeah.
So you can use that also for an upsale or anything like that. So you're not forcing the person. Yeah. You're not saying yes,
I've
you have
seen that
to do
a lot.
that.
Like, this is our most popular option.
Right.
And it is very effective.
Yeah, and it's highlighted in bold and stuff like that.
Right.
And okay, well, shoot, if most people go with that, I mean, it has to be right.
Right.
That's not the case. So overall, you'd like to think people make decisions in a logical, reasonable way, and they weigh the pros and cons. But that's
never objective, really.
No. So people, they look for these shortcuts. They're universals. This applies in different cultures, different countries, different products. It doesn't matter. So if you're selling cherries in Bangladesh, it's the same thing if you're selling bread in a grocery store or something. I don't know, printers, computers. It doesn't matter where you are. These things apply, and it goes across cultural boundaries. It's not like, oh well, the Chinese are more analytical, or the Germans are more subjective. They're not, or objective, right? Is that
objective means like that you can think about it very rationally.
Okay,
and
the Germans are more objective because they make really good vehicles or something like that.
So what was the book again?
Influence by Dr. Robert Cialdini.
And we'll link to that in the show notes, and I'll also link to the YouTube video that Marcel was referencing. But I think that wraps things up for the week. Thank you to bensound.com for our intro and outro music, and thanks to you guys for listening. You can tune in next week where we'll tackle another topic. And if you have any questions or feedback on today's episode, head to pushpullsales.com, and we'll talk to you later.
See ya.